So greetings, everyone. My name is Dave Kusek. I'm the director of the New Artist Model online music business school. And I'm going to be your host today for this music licensing webinar. If you're looking to get your music licensed, then you've come to the right place today. We have a lot of great material for you today. Now, you may or may not know me, but I'm also the founder of Berklee Online, which is the world's largest music school. And I've had the privilege of working with literally tens of thousands of independent musicians, songwriters, producers, and business people over the years to help pursue their dreams in music. And today I'm joined by licensing coach and mentor, Joyce Kettering, who I'm going to introduce you all to in just a minute. Now, today we're going to talk to you about music licensing and how you can get organized and get started licensing your own music, the music that you already are making. Now, right now, at the beginning of this year, it's actually a very, very good time to get started licensing your music and to set the groundwork for yourself and get started with this process that Joyce is going to explain to you. Now, Joyce's method for music licensing it's extremely practical, as you're going to see. She's going to take you inside an online course that's expressly designed to teach you how to license your music yourself without any intermediaries. And as you'll see, you're going to be able to start submitting music for placements immediately, right in the first few weeks. Now, a lot of what we're sharing with you today is normally reserved for our members only, but you took the time to be here today, so we're going to give you a lot of great info. We're also going to answer your questions toward the end of the webinar, and we're going to try and answer as many as we can in the hour or so time that we have allocated here. And this is your chance to get access to just a fabulous music licensing mentor. So don't be shy to ask questions, type them in along the way. Our special guest today is Joyce Kettering. Joyce has written and produced hundreds of songs, and she's gotten over 90 of them placed in music libraries at this point. But she wasn't always living this life in music. Just a few short years ago, she was working in the corporate world in finance and contract compliance, of all things, with music as her passion and her side gig. And I bet a lot of you can relate to that, right? You're working and you got music as your passion, your side gig. So what changed for Joyce? She used everything that she learned from her finance background, and she researched and she experimented with trying to license her music herself. And you know what? She discovered a lot of things that absolutely did not work for her. But she also found solutions and licensing strategies that eventually allowed her to quit that corporate gig, a big corporate gig, by the way, and work full-time licensing her music and helping other musicians. And now she's sharing everything that she's learned today with you. So would you please welcome from Paris, France, say hello to Joyce Kettering.
Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to be here. So as Dave mentioned, I used to have a big corporate gig. I was actually an auditor, so my job was to figure out what was going wrong and what could be improved. And that's what I did with my music and with my music licensing career. And that's what I've tried to put as much actionable content as possible in this webinar today. And in the course, we'll tell you a little bit more about. So super excited to be here, and I can't wait to let you in on my little secrets.
Awesome. And last but not least, I want you to say hello to Chelsea Ira. Chelsea, are you here? Chelsea works with us in the New Artist Model, and she's going to be helping us with the webinar. So say hi, Chelsea.
Hi, everyone. Like Dave said, I'm going to be hanging out in the chat with you guys. So if you have any questions for Joyce along the way, just type them in, and I'll be queuing them up for the Q&A.
Awesome. All right. Back to our highly designed presentation for you guys. So today's webinar is going to be very enlightening for those of you who are just starting out with music licensing. We're going to assume that you really don't know anything and try and get you up to speed very quickly. And to make it worth your time, to stick around to the end of this event, we have a special bonus for everybody that you're going to get at the end of the webinar. So stick around. We're going to be taking your questions, and you'll get this 7-day music licensing checklist, which includes 8 licensing leads that you can actually immediately submit your music to. So stick around for that, okay? I mean, right there, that's worth the price of admission. Plus, you're going to get a members-only view inside our Get Your Music Licensed online training program. All right, so let's get started, and let's ask Joyce to jump back in and explain just what is music licensing.
All right, let's do this. So music licensing is similar to renting your music to other people. So basically, you keep the copyrights of your music, but you allow the other people to use your property, your assets, your songs. Now, this is a pursuit for songwriters and music composers. So you can license your songs or instrumentals to other recording artists. So they will record and perform your songs, or you can make your songs or instrumentals available for licensing on TV shows, films, or video games. And this second type of licensing is what we're going to focus on today. That's my specialty and what I really want to deep dive with you. So why would you want to license your music? Well, when I first started music licensing, as Dave mentioned earlier, I was working a full-time job in finance, so I wanted something that I could do from home with a full-time job. But that's not the only reason, you might want to look into licensing your music, although I think those are 2 awesome reasons. Another reason is that compared to other options, licensing can be extremely lucrative and can generate recurring revenue, which doesn't happen so much with touring, for example, where you have to play to get paid. So let's have a look at the money in licensing. This here is a screenshot from SongTrader's pricing tool, and it gives you the recommended price list according to SongTrader. SongTrader being a music library, it's a marketplace where musicians could put their music and content creators can go and license that music. So this is to give you, that's standard market prices, basically. So now let's compare even more conservative figures to what you would make from streaming. Now, the first thing you need to know is that in order to, when you get about with 1 million plays on platforms like Spotify, you would get paid approximately $3,000. So in this table, we're comparing like how many licensing deals you would need to close in order to get the equivalent of 1 million streams, so the equivalent of $3,000. And these are very conservative figures compared to the SongTrader recommended listing, but I prefer to be conservative. I'm a trained auditor. So if you were to license your track, one of your songs, to a YouTuber so they could use it in their video, and you would charge only $20, which is like nothing, you would need to make 150 sales to match the 1 million streams on Spotify. And if you were going to get your tracks in an indie film, just charge $200 because you're just starting out, then you would only need to close 15 deals to make that, that same amount of money. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, 1 million stream on Spotify is huge, and I can't make that every month. And in fact, even if I didn't get 1 million streams on Spotify, you should know that after the first million streams, so let's say you get 2 million streams, you only get like $5,000. So it's actually digressive, the money you get from streaming services. So yeah, the money in licensing is much more interesting than streaming. Now, what would you actually need to get started licensing your music? Well, the first thing is pretty obvious. You need the music, but you only need 3-4 tracks to get started. It's a myth, and we'll talk a little bit more about it later, but it's a myth that you need hundreds of thousands of tracks to make a decent living licensing your music. We have people in the program who have a much smaller catalog and are making a good living. So 3-4 tracks is all you need to start. Then First actionable step, you need to register those songs with a performance rights organization before you submit your music to licensing opportunities. So performance rights organization will ensure that you get your royalties. In the US, that would be ASCAP or BMI. You have SACEM in France or PRS in the UK. You also need to be able to export high quality files. And you'll check the submission guidelines for music libraries, and we'll talk more about music libraries in a bit, but you need to be able to export those quality files. What I mean by that is WAV files, high quality MP3s. You need to be able to provide that. You also need to be able to add metadata or keywords to your audio files. And I'll explain more about that as well. But it's basically, data that allows people to find your tracks. Now, what you also need is the mindset. You need the courage to send out your music. It seems obvious, but so many of us forget to do it. If you don't send out your music, nobody will hear it, nobody will purchase it. And that's true whether you're just, releasing an album or if you're licensing your music. And, you need to get your music out there. That's how you get feedback. That's how you learn. If people are completely indifferent, it might mean that, but you're putting the music out there, it's probably that you need to work a little bit more on the music. But you need to know that. You need that feedback. You also need the determination to keep going, even if you get turned down, because you will get turned down. I guarantee it. Everybody does. I still do, and everybody does. You also need the patience to do the boring stuff. That's what will really help you stand apart from the competition. As you know, the music industry is a very competitive environment. You need to show that you're a professional. And by doing the boring stuff, emailing, doing your research, and submitting music, you are giving those professional signals to key decision makers in the industry. Now, the really cool thing about music licensing is that compared to setting up a tour, for example, once you've done that hard work, you can generate recurring income from that, but you still need to put that hard work up front. So that's the mindset. The third thing you need is a plan and a system. You need to take matters into your own hands and make sure that people hear your music. Again, you need to put yourself out there. And what I'm going to talk to you about today is this idea that, it's better to teach a man how to fish than just give him fish. So, the idea with this webinar and with what I'm going to present to you is that I want to give you the tools to get the work done yourself, no matter what genre of music you write in and no matter what your personal situation is. So I'm sharing a framework that you can tailor to your specific situation. But, of course, I'll offer support and guidance into how to tailor that and how to apply it to yourself. But you'll see right from, from the content of this webinar that there's a lot you can start doing right now. Okay, let's actually look at your options when you want to license your music, the Surefire method to license your music. So option one is music production libraries. So that's the recommended option if you're just starting out and no one in the music business and you're a little bit shy. If you're not great at networking, or if you're super busy and need to be able to work at your own pace, music production libraries are great for you. So what they are is they're basically websites that curate music and make it available to license. So there are websites where a content creator will visit that website, will look for keywords, because they need a certain type of mood or a certain genre of music in their video, and they'll type keywords. The website will give results, and then if they can play those tracks, and if they like it, they can license it right there and then. So those are music libraries. A few examples of music libraries would be Pond5, Songtradr, which we mentioned before, Audio Jungle, Marmoset. So Pond5 have a great reputation with content creators and musicians. Audio Jungle is more popular with podcasters. And Marmoset is a good example of a library that really likes indie bands. So, you have all sorts of different music libraries, and I'll give you a few tips later on how to choose the right one, especially when you're first getting started and you don't want to make, wrong decisions that might impact your negatively impact your career. So how they work, as I mentioned, they're a searchable database for customers. And when that customer listens to the music they found on there and decides to purchase a track, the library, they will pay a synchronization fee right there and then, and the library will usually get 50% and you'll get the other 50%. Very often the split is that the library gets the publisher's share and you keep the songwriter's share. So in effect, for that particular song, the library is acting as your publisher, but just for that deal. Now, who are music libraries good for? They're really great for anyone new to licensing. They're a really good way to get licensing opportunities even if you have no connections. And the great thing is that because they're driven by metadata, you can if you do hard work, if you do the upfront work, you can maximize your chances. You can optimize your chances of getting found in those libraries. So what do you need to get started with them? Just 3 or 4 songs or instrumentals that are fully mixed and mastered. So notice that it can be a song with lyrics. It can be an instrumental without lyrics. It doesn't matter what genre. Any type of genre can get licensed on TV, film, but the production quality needs to be really good. It needs to be fully mixed and mastered. And also, it helps if you can give your customers options and have several different music cues and alternative versions for each songs. Now, how do you optimize your tracks so they appear in the search results of the libraries? That's with metadata. So what is metadata? It's how the people find your tracks. You have the metadata that is included in the audio file, and you have the metadata that you fill in the music library every time you set up a new track. So here we're going to talk about the keywords that you can, how you can find the right keywords to describe your tracks and to optimize your chances of getting found. Now, the first thing you need to, really get into your head is that the keywords need to be relevant and specific. Like, there's no point spamming with lots of keywords. It doesn't work because the customers will listen to the music and will not it will not fit what they need. And it doesn't help if you're just using general keywords like love or adventure. Those are too generic. So you need to be relevant, not spammy, specific, not too general. You need to be able to describe the song you have. In this example here, I'm saying the first few words are sounds like a McDonald's or Coca-Cola commercial. Right away, you know what I'm talking about. That's happy music. That's bouncy, happy music. And so that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying you need to make it easy for someone to picture your music. Remember, the people buying the music are not necessarily musicians themselves. Okay, now to give you a more specific example, let's compare. This is the Harry Potter theme. If you're gonna, like the lazy musician would just go with basic keywords like mysterious, soundtrack, dark, adventure to describe a song like a track like that. But if you put the work up front, you can be really specific and relevant. You could add bittersweet, or haunting, heavenly, hopeful, hypnotic, waterworld, sorrow, wildlife. If you actually, after this webinar, if you want to listen to the Harry Potter theme again, you'll notice that we associate it with Harry Potter, of course, but it can, your imagination can go to a lot of different places. So don't hesitate to be super specific and relevant. If even one person says your track reminds them of a car advertisement, even if you don't hear it, add that to your keywords because someone heard it, could picture it there. Okay, now I promised you a few tips to, choose the right music libraries. So when you're first starting out, especially, I think it's really important that you focus on signing non-exclusive deals. So a non-exclusive deal with a music library means that you're giving that music library the authorization to license your tracks for you, to act on your behalf to license those tracks. But you're signing a non-exclusive deal. You're also allowed to have those tracks with another music library, or you're allowed also to find licensing placements yourself directly with indie filmmakers if you wanted to. So that's in opposition to an exclusive deal, where if you grant exclusivity to a music library, it means that if they don't ever license your tracks, there's nothing you can do about it. You're stuck because you can't shop those same tracks around. So when you're first starting out, it's super important that you sign non-exclusive deals, because it gives you more, it gives you more room to fail. If a music library doesn't work out for you, it's no big deal, because you can still have another music, that same music in another music library. Also, I recommend avoiding race to the bottom libraries. What I call race to the bottom libraries would be libraries where, they license your track for like $1 or $5 or $10. I mean, it's your choice, of course, but remember, here we're indie musicians trying to make more money from our music, and we notice that streaming doesn't pay very well. So maybe it's not the best idea to bring the licensing world down by cutting the prices. I know when you're first starting out, it can be tempting to just give your music for free or work for really, really cheap. But in the long term, it's almost never the right call, because it's really hard to raise your prices afterwards. So I would avoid that. Your call, but I would avoid it. And remember that table about, it's just, if you charge an appropriate price, then you don't need to worry so much about making so many sales. And I know a lot of us musicians aren't great at sales. So if you can avoid, limit the number of sales you need to make to earn a good living, it's probably, it makes more business sense. Another tip is you need to reach out regularly. So, reach out to new libraries regularly, and also update your listings with libraries that you already work with regularly. So, at first, I recommend submitting music to, let's say, 10 different non-exclusive libraries. And then after a few months, you can figure out which libraries work best for you. And the ones that work best, you send them more music. And the ones who didn't work out for you, you just, you don't care. You just move on. And finally, experiment. Music licensing is like learning an instrument. You need to try stuff. You need to practice. As Dave mentioned in the intro, I've failed a lot at this. I'm not ashamed to say so. There are a lot of libraries that didn't work out for me. There are also libraries who didn't accept my music, and then that same music was accepted in different libraries. So just try stuff. And you'll be okay. And I have a roadmap for you of like every action to take step by step, and you'll be okay. If you take action and you try stuff, you'll be fine. Now, Chuck Hughes here, I like to share his story with you, because he's a super active member of our group, and he's a touring musician. He's been touring for ages, but he also has a lot of experience in licensing his music. His music has been on a Better Call Saul promo video on TV. He's just a great example. He only has 36 or 37 songs in his catalog. I can't remember if it's 36 or 37, but he's a great example that you can tour and license your music. You can make a decent income from instrumental music only, although you can also license songs, and you don't need hundreds of tracks to make a decent living. Okay, so that was option 1. I still have option 2 for you, which is going direct to potential customer. That's when you really completely skip the middleman and you pitch your music directly to potential customers like indie filmmakers or music supervisors or YouTubers. And the big positive about that strategy is that you get to keep all the money. You keep the publisher's share and the writer's share. And also it's like super rewarding because you kind of get to choose what projects you work on. The downside is it's a lot more work, and you need to do a lot of research. You need to take care of admin, contracts, stuff like that. But it's doable, and it's incredibly rewarding when you pull it off. So the first thing you need to do to start selling, and again, that comes from a musician who knows how difficult it can be, how unnatural it can be to sell. So yeah, first thing, you need to know what kind of music you make. You need to be able to describe that and be very specific. You also need to figure out where that type of music can be heard. And if you start notice, if when you watch TV or Netflix or Prime Video, or when you go to the movies and when you're shopping, if you start noticing the music that's out there, you'll notice there's a lot of different genres. And maybe your genre is more obscure, maybe it's niche, but you can start figuring out where it's being used. And also try to figure out why this type is being used in a music, in a production. So to give you an example of mine, I write in a lot of different genres, but one of my pseudonyms writes what I call electro-orchestral music. That sounds like Woodkid or Hans Zimmer, basically the Batman soundtrack. And where is it used? So it's used on TV quite a lot, shows like CSI, Sherlock, Indiana Jones, movie. It can be used in video games. It's pretty dark, so Call of Duty would be pretty cool placement. And don't have that placement yet, but it'd be pretty cool. And why is that music being used in those productions? It's because it creates a thrill. It's the kind of music that really builds a suspense and creates excitement for the audience. Now, the reason you want to be able to do that is that you want to be able to talk to your customers in a way that resonates with them. Now, before you get in touch with customers, you need to make a list of your potential customers. And the exercise I recommend is putting together a list of 100 potential customers that you would want to work with. And the idea here is you don't want to limit yourself. You want to make sure your list is 100 because, it's going to be like the first 20 will be easy, but you want to stretch to 100 because that's when you'll get, that's through that struggle that you'll identify original opportunities, not just the licensing opportunities that everybody knows about and everybody reaches out to. So, list ad agencies, brands, TV shows, production companies, games, video games that you like, just 100. It needs to be 100. You need to push yourself. And then you can identify the decision makers that you'll want to get in touch with. So when you target key decision makers, just so you know, usually on TV shows or large film productions, there will be a music supervisor. Same with ad agencies. There's usually someone in charge of choosing the music. Gaming companies tend to have a full music department. Sorry, I'm getting excited, so I think I may be hitting on my mic. But so gaming companies, have their own department, music department very often. Indie films, you can reach out to them like directly on Vimeo or at a film festival. Remember to go where your customers are, and that's how you can start getting in touch with them. But first step is actually making a list, knowing who you want to work with. Now, an example of this is Sharon. So when she first started, she was one of the first on the program, and she had no experience licensing. So she got her music on production music libraries, but she also started telling all her friends and family about her projects licensing her music, and ended up realizing that she had a connection to an indie filmmaker, actually an award-winning indie filmmaker. So it wasn't a direct connection, but it was someone who knew someone who knew someone who knew him, and she got to talking with him and building a relationship with him that way. So also, once you make that list of 100 potential customers, start going on LinkedIn and trying to figure out if there's any way you can get in touch with them more directly. And remember to tell everyone what you're trying to accomplish here. That really helps. All right. Now let me show you the insides of the roadmap, and that's what Dave mentioned earlier, that it's exclusive to members. So hopefully you'll find this super helpful and insightful. So the roadmap is built around 6 modules, and the idea is really to take you step by step, learn you how to fish step by step. And there's 6 modules, 24 videos, and at the end of each video, there's an action step for you to take. And it's really, it's a progression. So it's really about practicing music licensing step by step and learning along the way and figuring out what works for you. And also, what doesn't work for you, which is fine. You know, you need to get that feedback. Okay, module one. Module one is the first steps to get your music license, and you'll see through module one that, again, you know, it'll be obvious that I'm all about taking action, because right from you know, the third video, you'll be submitting music. So you know, that's really the strength of this program. Is I encourage you to take action right from the start, and you learn. You know, you learn by practicing, just like you would an instrument. So you're not learning about the theory. I mean, you are learning about theory because I explain key concepts to you, but I give you pointers, and you know exactly what to do. Now, right here, you see right away, I'm giving you leads that you can explore, so that you can start figuring out the market for yourself. So I'll guide you towards music libraries that you might want to look at, and so you can start studying the different music libraries, and you'll notice that different libraries have different strategies. They price differently. They're not addressed to the same, you know, they won't have the same customers. So this module is all about familiarizing yourself with the music licensing market. And as I mentioned, start submitting your music to music libraries. So you see here, you know, this module includes like the master licensing spreadsheet. Again, I used to be a financial auditor, worked on contracts, so I actually love spreadsheets. I'm a geek that way. I genuinely love Excel. I don't know why. It's just, I love it. I think it's incredibly powerful. So you have this spreadsheet that is included in the course, and it gives you a list of over 100 you know, music libraries and supervisors and publishers, and also gives you a template to track your catalog, which is super important, because you know, you don't want to be looking for keywords every time you submit music to a new library. So in that tracker, you'll have a column with all your keywords, and you'll have the date when you register the song with your performance rights organization. So there's no more like forgetting to do something important. It's all there. If you know, it's all there. And yeah, so you'll have loads of leads, and you'll be more organized on, you know, how to. Sorry, I do get excited when it's spreadsheets, right? You can hear.
You do.
Anyway, moving on to module 2, which is all about building momentum. Again, this course is really about helping you as much as possible feel empowered. You know, I don't want you to feel lost. I don't want to feel you overwhelmed. I know how it's like, and I built this course because I thought it was, you know, I wanted to help others get to the point and, you know, struggle much less than I did back when I started. So this is about building momentum and giving you clear step-by-step process to follow when to get your tracks in the music libraries, and also preparing yourself and your music for bigger licensing opportunities. So if you have a look at the, you know, at the different lessons in their videos, you see you have preparing for the best case scenario. And that's like super important. It's about the alternative versions I was telling you about earlier, you know, having an instrumental version of your song and having the same song, but with maybe different instrumentation. So maybe take out the rhythmic guitar or whatever. Also having shorter cues, like 30-second cues or 40-second cues. That's the idea behind this module, you know, making sure you're all set up and you're ready to go, taking care of all the keywords that you're going to fill out when you get your music in music libraries. Now, module 3 is a tiny break from full-on licensing, because so when you start submitting your music to music libraries in module 1 and 2, you'll notice that they don't get back to you immediately. And you know, there can be periods during the year that are less fruitful than others, or when you're just tired of the admin work. And it's important that you keep working on your catalog and you keep writing new music. So module 3 is all about that. It's really there to help you gain confidence in your songwriting. So also, you know, if you start working as a composer on a TV show, for example, you'll need to be able to write a lot of music really, really fast. And this module helps you do that. This is how I managed to write like write, record, and produce 100 songs exactly in 2016. I did a little bit less in 2017 and 2018, but still, more than 50 tracks a year for the past 3 years. And this module is all about that. I'm sharing all the techniques I used to be able to do that. So you'll see here, it's all about mixing creativity and business, basically. And yeah, I'd like to share Jim's feedback on this module. There are a lot, actually. I was surprised because I got a lot of people who, like, it's their favorite module. So even though they signed up for music licensing, it's their favorite module, which is great because it's all about the creativity. So of course, as musicians, that's where you have the most fun. It's less boring than the spreadsheets for everyone except me. So yeah, Jim actually shared this in the private Facebook group where I think it's awesome because he took that 1 hour writing session I recommended and came up with a comedy theme, which he had never written in that style before, and it's incredible. His theme is really, really good, and that's a huge new opportunity for him that he wouldn't have found out about if he hadn't embraced that building your catalog module. And for him, I think it's going to be very special, I think, because comedy is very difficult to write. So if he found out that he actually enjoyed it and he was really good at it, so it can be still recent, but I'm very excited for him about that. Okay, now module 4 is all about building rapport. So it's more focused on the second strategy, the direct to customers. It's about helping you become completely independent and self-sufficient, so you don't have to wait around for a publisher, and you don't necessarily have to work with production music libraries, although you still can. Some artists choose to work with music production libraries under a pseudonym, and then under a different pseudonym, they'll do more premium work with direct customers. So yeah, in this module, it's about identifying your ideal customer and reaching out to them. So you'll work on identifying who you want to work with, and also doing a lot of research. It's super important to be prepared before you get in touch with people, and also how to meet new people. And this comes from someone who I don't especially like networking. I love people. But I'm better in a small environment. Like I'm better at a dinner party than I am at a huge music conference. So if you're shy, or if you want to work 100% online, don't be scared. This framework I have for you about researching and reaching out, you will find what you need in there. You can absolutely apply it even if you're shy and you're not too comfortable in huge networking events. Okay, so one example from one of our members, Pamela. Awesome for her. She tapped into her personal network, similar to Sharon. Actually, she didn't realize she had that connection, and she reached out and ended up landing a placement that way. So it was super, super exciting for her. And I think something that's super interesting in her testimonial and in her experience is that it's a small budget film. And I think it's super important that when you create your list of 100 potential customers, you can dream, you can go big, but do not underestimate the local shop near you, or the small ad agency that your uncle works at, or don't underestimate the smaller opportunities. They're there for you and they pay, so go for it. Now, module 5 is all about your building a more professional image, and once you're ready perhaps to have your own music composer website where people can license directly through your website, you'll want to have set up your music in different collections. So if you end up wanting to really pursue music licensing full time without touring, without album sales or anything, you can start creating your own collections of music, having a collection for Christmas or for Valentine's Day or for St. Patrick's Day. Always good ideas. And this module is all about, building your professional brand image. And the video you do not want to miss. You don't want to miss any of them because remember they're progressive. It's step by step. But this one, I think it's probably the most powerful. Draws from regular business practices as well. It's the pitch, the elevator pitch, how to present yourself like really, really fast. You need that. And in this world, it's so fast paced. You absolutely need that. And it's kind of an epic lesson where I share like 4 steps. So you have a really clear, powerful elevator pitch that you only need 30 seconds, 1 minute to deliver. Okay, now the last module is module 6. It's all about taking stock. And this one is, do not neglect it. It may be tempting to say, but don't, because this is where you take the time to review your catalog tracker and your submission tracker, and you figure out what's worked for you and what hasn't. You look at the libraries that are working for you. You look at the libraries that aren't working for you. You look at the type of customers who you enjoy working with, or the ones you don't. For example, I used to really want to work with a lot of indie filmmakers. It turns out I prefer working with entrepreneurs and ad agencies than indie filmmakers. So you may come into this thinking you know exactly what you want, and once you start practicing and learning, you realize, actually, I think I'll shift my career a little bit that way instead. So don't underestimate this module. You'll review your submission tracker, your catalog tracker, you'll choose your priorities, and the penultimate video is, again, all about taking action. It's a reminder that this program is all about taking action. And the beauty of the program is that once you're done taking action, you can go ahead and start from the beginning and take action again, because no matter what stage you're at, if you start back from module 1 and go through the process of looking at the market again, and drawing up a new Dream 100 customer list, you'll learn stuff and you'll improve again. So take action, take action, take action. And in the meantime, listen to Dave for a little bit.
Awesome. Action-packed for sure. And I hope you guys see that, there's a lot of good tips to get you started and get organized, and how she's really got a very systematic approach to music licensing that you can use to get your songs placed and start earning money, which is really the point of the whole webinar. Now, as we promised you at the beginning, we have a free ebook and licensing guide for you that you can use to get started with music licensing. We're going to give that away in just a couple of minutes, so stand by. And we're going to be taking questions. I see a ton of questions here in the chat. So if you have questions, type them in. We're going to try and answer as many as we possibly can. But first, I want to give you a chance to get in on Joyce's revolutionary licensing course called Get Your Music Licensed. Right now, in the beginning of 2019, here we are. And we have some great prices and the opportunity for you to work directly with Joyce if you want more guidance on your licensing, all because you're here on this webinar. So what is Get Your Music Licensed? You see right here, she explained 6 modules. It's an incredible resource, everybody. And all the tips and strategies, they're really, really practical. This is stuff Joyce uses herself every single day to license her own music and all the students that are in the program. And she's managed to quit her job to license music and coach others to learn how to license their own. And, this is a great opportunity for everyone to get involved in a program that can really benefit you. Get Your Music Licensed will help you focus on maximizing the opportunities for the music you already enjoy making, right? There was nothing in here about you have to write music a certain way. You don't need to fit into a popular, music box or genre to successfully license your music. In fact, licensing can be lucrative even in the smallest niche. And Joyce will show you exactly how to do that, how to pitch your music and how to pitch it to ensure that you get noticed, that your songs get listened to. If you're not sure where to start or how to get your music in front of the right people, maybe this program is exactly what you need, the roadmap to get your music placed. If you feel like you need a little extra help getting started or figuring your licensing plan out, we have a version of the course that includes monthly coaching calls to help you out. These are monthly calls where you can get real-time feedback and support on your music and your plan. And Joyce really knows her stuff, so these coaching calls are absolutely invaluable. This is a comprehensive licensing course. I hope you can see that it will take you from wherever you are right now with your music, a few tracks or 100 tracks, and show you how to get started licensing. If you've never licensed your music before, Joyce will show you step by step what you need to do to start. And if you already have experience licensing music, we're going to show you how to get better organized, how to focus your efforts, and really ramp up your licensing activity. As Joyce said, there are 24 video lessons that'll help you get your tracks ready to go so that they get seen and listened to, and how to identify your ideal customers and where your music is going to fit, and how to build relationships with those people and keep moving forward. We give you over 100 very well vetted and current licensing leads that you can submit your music to over and over again, right? It's not, you don't pay for that every time you submit. We're going to give you those leads. That alone is worth the price of the course. Plus you'll get checklists, Joyce's spreadsheets, a catalog tracker, a submission tracker, tips and tricks, and inspiration to stay motivated and on track. You'll learn how to get ready and find opportunities for you. And also, as she talked about, how to quickly grow your song catalog. Once you get in the program, you're going to find everything that you need to move forward. You won't have to hunt around looking for leads or solutions. You won't feel lost or overwhelmed or alone, because Joyce will be right there with you, showing you what to do, to give you meaningful feedback on your production and your writing, and to give you support, quite frankly, to get you through the ups and downs of licensing, because it's a long game. Now, we have a really great start of the year price for you guys, just because you're here on this webinar. But we also have 3 bonuses that we put together that you get when you sign up for Get Your Music License. So let me really quickly tell you about these, then we'll get to your questions. Bonus 1 are a set of toolboxes. These are really, really cool. The first one is a productivity toolbox. Joyce designed these short lessons to make you more productive and help you get organized and manage your time better, right? How to almost create more time for yourself. The second one is a creativity toolbox that includes just a ton of tips and tricks to build your song catalog faster than ever and focus on what's working for you. There's tons of ideas that you can use to make songwriting a daily habit, even if you're not particularly inspired that day. I mean, we all have days like that, right? And all these ideas can help you build up a huge catalog that you can use to bring in recurring revenue, the mailbox money that we talked about in the emails we sent you. That's bonus 1. Bonus 2 is access to an exclusive online community of indie artists dedicated just to licensing and publishing. You'll meet a lot of people with a lot of experience licensing music, and you can get answers to your questions. And more importantly, for a lot of people, is feedback on your songs. That's bonus 2. Bonus 3, Chelsea and I put together a guidebook that shows you the basics of copyright and licenses and how they work, how to approach music supervisors, and how to approach other artists and labels to get your songs cut, and our split sheet template that you can use to keep track of your songs when you write with other people. Give you your money back, no questions asked. But, I'm pretty confident that within that first 30 days, that a light bulb is going to go off in your head, and you're going to see how you can take matters into your own hands and start making money with your music, just like these folks have. One of the things I love about Joyce's program is how straight to the point it is, and how much power she puts right in your hands, from preparing and submitting your music to how to go straight to the libraries and the decision makers yourself.
Yeah, and Jamie is a great example, actually, because she works a lot with one single library, but she has kids, she has a full-time job, and she earns decent income from music licensing.
Or how about John here? John has learned some of the secrets of networking that Joyce has for you and how to get to the people in the music business that you want to approach. And he learned it by taking the course and sharing these secrets that she has and these techniques that she has.
Yeah, he actually really made my day when he sent me this because I know all about procrastination. So this course is really about helping you through those phases we all have as indie musicians, and just beating the little devil on one of our shoulders who's telling us to watch TV instead of working on the music. And yeah, I'm just glad he found it helpful.
Yeah, well, there's so many, like Jim. Jim, he says he's become a better songwriter by taking the course, which he says that he wished that he had done years ago because it would have saved him so much time and made him so much more productive.
Yeah, again, I mentioned it during the webinar, but the reason I created the course is because I was, I regretted that it didn't exist when I was first starting out, because I found information online, but it was just kind of all scattered and contradicting itself, and I just had trouble figuring out how to go about my business. So I can his comment really resonated with me.
And one more, then we're gonna get to your questions really soon. Keith here, he's learned to stop procrastinating. And another thing that I think is so cool that Joyce will teach you about is how to stop striving for perfection, right? And instead, get your music out there and get it licensed and take action, which is really what this is all about. So I told you that we have a very special price for all you on this webinar. We wanted to create a great deal for you that you can actually customize based on where you are in your licensing career and the amount of support that you want. So normally the course, Get Your Music License, goes for $497. But here are the options we have for you today. You can choose to go through the course at your own pace. You get immediate and lifetime access to all the lessons, all the templates, everything that we showed you, the private Facebook group, all the bonuses, and you get it for just $297 if you sign up today, which is a crazy $200 discount, but you made it here. That's one way you can go. Or you can add 6 months of coaching calls. These are group coaching calls with Joyce and other artists, other songwriters. The coaching version normally sells for nearly $1,000, but as you can see right here, you can get in for only $597. This is great for anybody who wants a little more guidance and feedback. So, we don't have unlimited spots here. So if you're interested, I would jump in pretty quick. So if you go to this link that you see here, newartistmodel.com/license, you can see all the options we have for you, including the payment plan. As I said earlier, the 100 leads that you get in the course, they're worth more than twice what you're going to pay for them. And you know what? You can submit your music over and over and over to them. They're 100% free to submit to, and you're going to get 100% transparency with what's going on, And on top of that, you're going to learn the skills that will let you find your own leads beyond the 100. We're going to teach you how to fish and put your future success right into your own hands. All right. Thank you for sticking around. I want you to go to newartistmodel.com/license right now. Call that link up on your screen. And at the bottom of that page is where you're going to find this free ebook, the licensing workbook and checklist. Go to the bottom of the page, newartistmodel.com/license, and click on the book, and it's yours for coming today to the webinar. Click on the link you see in the chat. I think Chelsea's put that up, newartistmodel.com/license. We're also going to send you some email follow-ups from the webinar for the next day or so. We'll send you a link to a replay. But just remember, this is all available for a couple of days only. And then the replay comes down. price goes back up, you'll lose the bonuses. So if you're interested at all in making money by licensing your music and learning how to do it right, then sign up. You'll be very, very glad you did. All right, here we go with some questions. Thank you all for being here. All right. I see there's a ton of questions. You guys are awesome, by the way.
Okay, this one's from Michael. I heard when submitting instrumentals to libraries, it's better to let them register it to the PRO because they often change the title. Is that compatible with registering with the PRO first, or have you ever experienced that?
Yeah, absolutely. My recommendation is that you submit to your PRO under the title you wish, and say you own the rights 100%. If you sign a non-exclusive deal with a music library, or an exclusive deal for that matter, the music library will also register the song with their PRO, and they will usually assign themselves 100% of the publishing and assign you 100% of writing. That's completely compatible. There will be 2 different ISWC numbers attached to the same song, but it's not really a huge problem. So yeah, you can do that absolutely, and that way as well. When you include the ISWC number in the audio file that you license, it'll be easier to track as well, which who got the placement.
Joyce, just so you know, we have so many questions. Let's cruise through these as fast as we can. There's a ton.
Okay.
Yep. This one comes from Mike. Which libraries are your particular favorites?
Right now, I really like Pond 5 and the free account of Songtrader. Cruising.
Oh, yep. Joanna asked.
A lot of that depends on also the kind of music that you
have, absolutely. Like, they're my current favorites, but you should submit to as many as you have the time and energy to submit to.
Okay, this one comes from Joanna. Can you please discuss how background musicians and background singers get paid their royalties for performing on a recording that gets licensed?
So it depends a lot on the country you live in. It depends also on the contract you sign with them. If you hire them as if they're work for hire, if there's a work for hire contract and they're non-union musicians, then they won't get royalties in the US. But if they're union musicians, they'll get paid. And if you give them a share of royalties, you can always give them points of your royalties if you want to. I just recommend going with a work for hire contract whenever possible, because it's an easier relationship. But checking your country, it depends on the country. Sorry.
All right. How much leeway is there to negotiate with libraries that want an exclusive deal? Can I ask them to limit exclusivity to, say, 1 year?
Yeah, you can. In my experience, most of them will refuse to adjust their... so there are 1-year exclusive deals. Jingle Punks is an example of one. It's actually one of the rare exclusive libraries that I would recommend, because it's only a 1-year deal, so it's okay if they don't place anything for you. You can negotiate. Most of the time, they won't negotiate with you, but you should negotiate if you don't feel, don't sign anything you're not comfortable with.
All right. Will asks, can you license music that's already available for sale via digital distribution?
Absolutely. It's actually a frequently asked question. You can. So, distributing your song is just, you're making it available to the public for personal consumption, which is fine. Licensing your music is, it's a commercial exploitation of your composition. It's completely different to personal consumption via Spotify or iTunes Store or whatever.
Okay. This one comes from Mike. Will libraries consider doing co-publishing or sub-publishing?
So libraries will usually take 100% of the publishing. So it isn't really co-publishing. They're just publishing on your behalf when when they make that placement. So yeah, I mean everything is negotiable, but the production music libraries usually have a standard agreement that they don't like to deviate from.
Okay. This one is referring to all of those keywords and metadata you were talking about. Is it best to use as many keywords as possible? Do some libraries have limits? Or can too many keywords be seen as spammy?
So some have limits. Maybe some libraries consider spammy if you put too many. We would have to have access to their algorithm. I think as long as you stay relevant, you're okay. If you have 50 keywords that are relevant, it shouldn't be a problem. Some libraries will limit you to 30 and then, just copy 30 instead of 50, but I would put in the upfront work.
Okay. Yen asks, any tips for cover musicians in licensing? Is it possible to license cover songs, or what are your best practices for that?
Okay, so it's possible. It's possible. Just make sure that first be aware that you're not going to get any of the songwriting royalties. So you'll get the share of sync fees, and the paperwork is slightly more complex. You need to make sure that your customer is taking care of the synchronization of the master use license, because you want to make sure that someone actually got the permission to, they might assume that you have that, and you might assume that they took care of that. So just make sure you're on the same page and someone got the authorization to use the cover sound recording. And of course, on your side, before you make the sound recording, get a license from the Harry Fox agency or equivalent in your country. But Harry Fox agency is pretty reliable.
All right. This one is talking about audio quality. Is it imperative to present our wave tracks in 24 bits instead of 16 bits? What do we do if we only have 16 available to us?
Yeah, that's fine. So usually, some libraries will ask for 16, some will ask for 24, some customers will ask for 16, some will ask for 24. The more options you have, the better, because you may miss out on a few opportunities where the customer really, 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 really wanted 24-bit. But you can still license your music with 16. There are still plenty of opportunities where that will be fine. So I would say don't worry about it. Just in the future, when you bounce out, when you record, try to get the highest quality possible and get all those bounces ready up front.
Okay, this is referring to when you were talking about your different pseudonyms and describing one of them. Why would you use pseudonyms? Could you go through that?
Okay, sure. The reason I have different pseudonyms is that some being eclectic can be seen as a quality by some. It's especially valuable if you want to be a composer in a TV show, for example. You can show that you have a wide range of skills, but other people may kind of frown upon, may consider if you're not a specialist, you're probably not as good as a specialist. So I like using pseudonyms because that way it also helps me separate the different projects. And for one pseudonym, I will focus on a certain type of customers and have kind of that customer avatar in my head. And for a different pseudonym or different style of music, I'll focus on something else. And I build separate brands, and I see which one works for me and which one works for the customers. And I find it easier that way. Pseudonyms are super easy to set up with your performance rights organization. So you can have one account with a performance rights organization and different pseudonyms with different IPI numbers. So super easy to set up and fairly straightforward to manage. So if you write in a lot of different genres and you're not sure which one is your favorite yet, it can be a good idea to kind of experiment in the shadows.
I'm going to jump in and answer a few questions for you. Those of you who signed up for the program, thank you. You're going to get your questions answered in great detail. Questions about PayPal, yep, we do accept PayPal, credit card, debit card. You can also use any of that on payment plans that we have set up for you. Some of you are looking for very, very specific things, you know, sample emails that worked and so forth. I suggest that you really consider signing up for the course because there's only so much we can do in an hour-long webinar, but you know, if you have a course that's designed to, you know, go over a 6-month period, you can go very, very deep. So a couple more questions and then we'll call it a day. What do you got?
Right. This one's from Fran. Is it better to submit instrumental versions of your songs versus the song with lyrics?
It really depends on the libraries. So part of Module 1 is kind of doing your research on the libraries, and you'll get a feel for what they want, if they prefer instrumental or songs, you know, really, really easily. If you do write songs with lyrics, it's always a good idea to also have the instrumental version available, like that, you know, to be able to deliver it right away.
All right.
Oh. One more, or we done?
Sure, one more.
Okay. Chris asks, any thoughts on libraries to stay away from? Or things to avoid in certain libraries to look out for?
Avoid exclusive, except if they pay you a big advance. Basically, assume that they're not going to do any work for you and that it's not going to work out before you sign a deal. Avoid libraries that don't pay well. And yeah, those are the two big things. And avoid anything that wants some of your copyright. The copyright should be yours. It's yours. You made the music. Don't give it away.
Very important. Very important. Yeah. All right. So everybody, thank you for being here. And once again, we've got some super deals for you. You can see right here. You can save a lot of money if you sign up for this program right now. You can get all the bonuses. And thank you all for coming. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you, Chelsea. I hope you guys learned a lot. This has really been a blast. You've been a great audience. Lots of great questions.
Thank you.
If you have, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you, Chelsea.